Hello and welcome to Juicy Scoop. Got so much juice to cover today of things going on in the world, in the juicy world of comedy and whatnot, and crimes. But I also have Elise, who is the new Real Housewives of New York. And she's very cool and gives lots of scoop on her perspective of all of our favorite ladies on Real Housewives of New York. And that's going to come a little later in the show. So, first of all, last night, I'm going to bed. I'm checking Juicy Scoop Obsessed, which is my private Facebook group, which what I want to say for those of you that are members of that group and go there, I just want to be really clear that it is a group that I started a couple years ago. It's so that you guys can share great stories that you find juicy, comment on them. Kelly or I approve them, and then we pretty much put them up there and let you guys deal with it. And the only reason I'm bringing this up is because sometimes I get letters or Kelly gets letters saying that someone in the comments wrote something rude to me. Why aren't you taking care of this? Listen, it's just Kelly and I. I cannot do this. But I would like having the group because it's really great information. And also people have found I started it so that you guys could find each other if you're in a city or, oh, who's going to Heather's show? I'm by myself. Meet us here. That's exactly why I started that group and I love it. So just know that we do our best. But hey, if things get heated, maybe go off for a while or whatever. But really, I can't babysit 32,000 people. And if you're not part of it, check it out. It's like our own little, Juicy Scoop news feed, and it's really fun. And but hey, some people may say things on there that you don't agree with. Full disclosure. Okay. All right. So someone wrote, "Oh my God, Chris D'Elia is getting dragged right now on Twitter. This is crazy. Girls are saying that he DM'd them throughout the years when they were underage." Chris D'Elia is a very popular stand-up comedian today. He's 40 years old. He's been working consecutively for like 10 years. He was Whitney Cummings, who is a very, popular stand-up herself. She had her own sitcom years ago, and they were boyfriend and girlfriend on it. He's been on Undateable. He's been on several shows. He's had like 3 or 4 Netflix specials. He has a really popular podcast. And he's part of that group like Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn and all these really popular male comedians that have these big podcasts that won't have me on. Okay, whatever. It's fine. We have our own thing going, and that's great. But so what these girls were saying, and there's a lot to read. There's a Newsweek article. You can go and just look at all the hashtags on Twitter. And basically, a lot of these girls were saying it started with one girl's story. And she said, and I'm summarizing, when I was 15 or 16, I was being groomed by Chris D'Elia. We were talking all the time. But then I got my own boyfriend, and I always was sort of embarrassed that I was talking to this older guy intimately for a while. They never got together. They did not have sex, but he was definitely pursuing her in a way that, was romantic. And she said she was always embarrassed, but then as she got older, she realized, oh, that was really kind of creepy, and that was really not okay, which I think a lot of us as women have looked back on something and realized that it was weird and creepy. But at the time, when you're 15 and 16, you're like, "Oh my God, I'm so attractive. I have it going on because I'm so intelligent and mature for my age that this older guy wants to talk to me. Like that's how happening I am." And that's what we think, because they're kind of feeding that. And I mean, I even thought it when I was like 21 and dating someone that was 40. I just thought, oh my God, I'm such a match for his intelligence. Like, shut up. Anyway, so then this started a thread and people started sharing their own kind of Me Too-ish type Chris D'Elia stories. And they were going back in their DMs from Facebook to Instagram, back going to 2015, 16, screen grabbing it, posting it. And then this, I forgot what the name of it, but on Twitter, someone was posting them all. And it's called something about dogs or something, if you want to look that up, Kelly. She was kind of collecting them all. People were sending them to her, and she was posting it on her page. And they're all very similar. It was, hey, I didn't know you were in town. Yeah, I am. Are you a fan? Yeah, I am a fan. I'm bummed I couldn't go to the show. Why couldn't you? Oh, because I'm 17. Oh, whoa. Didn't know you were 17. Yeah, I am. Well, give me your number. Let's start texting. Okay, but you do realize I'm 17, right? It was a lot of that. And so I was just mesmerized. I was up all night reading about it. And look, he's not the first guy that has done this, certainly not the first stand-up comic, which I found really funny because I was laying in my bed last night and I go, God, after a show, I'm not sitting in a hotel room like some of these male comics DMing hot boys to come over or to send me nudes or to get with. I'm like looking at shoes and things. So I put up a funny tweet and put it on Instagram, and so did Jen Kirkman, about how, yeah, we're in the comedy for the young boys, is what Jen wrote. And I said, because I was like, do I address this? I'm like, yeah, I fucking address it. Who gives a shit? You think Chris D'Elia is giving me a job? So I said to all the young girls I DM'd after my stand-up shows, asking them to text me their digits so we could talk about shoes, please don't cancel me. I was only trying to steal your look, not your innocence. Hashtag Chris D'Elia. So that was my little tweet about it, because I'm like, this is a hot topic and I'm talking about it. Now, he immediately put out a press release today, which I think that is the smart thing to do. And he wrote, I'm going to read it to you directly. I know I have said and done some things that have offended people during my career, but I have never knowingly pursued an underage women at any point. He said to TMZ on Wednesday, all of my relationships have been both legal and consensual, and I have never met or exchanged any inappropriate photos with the people who have tweeted about me. He added, that being said, I really am truly sorry. I was a dumb guy who absolutely let myself get caught up in my lifestyle. That's my fault. I own it. I've been reflecting on this for some time now, and I promise I will continue to do better. And a woman named Simone Rossi, that's who I was talking about, was the first to come forward with allegations against Chris D'Elia on Tuesday. And she said, quote, I still can't believe Netflix cast Chris D'Elia as the pedophile in the season 3 of You. And then she shared screenshots of emails that she and Chris D'Elia allegedly exchanged in 2014 and 15 when she was just 16 years old. And she goes on to write, imagine being 16 and being groomed by a stand-up comedian twice your age, and the only person you never met up with, the only reason you never met up with and never got physically molested was because you had just gotten a boyfriend your own age. For the longest time, I thought it was embarrassing for me that I was interacting with an older man, but he was the one who DM'd me on Twitter and was the one who was twice my age and was the one who used the power to imbalance between us and to his advantage. So fuck Chris D'Elia. Okay, so she started it, then other people continued. But then there were some other things that people just kind of wrote, like one person's, quote, and we don't know if this is true. People are just writing this stuff saying that he complained about an air conditioner being wrong in his room, and a woman came up to fix it, and then she came back down saying that he groped her or propositioned her.
That he exposed himself.
Oh, that he exposed himself. But these are just, blank things, anonymous, someone's typing, writing. So I'm not saying it's true, but I was like, I have to talk about it. Then what I found was interesting as I was reading it, people were like saying, screen grabbing old tweets of his that were really questionable about young girls and things like that, because he was deleting them. He had gotten rid of his Facebook page. He was just going on a rampage of deleting stuff. And I just imagine, like, what was that like? Like 8 o'clock at night, he's just chilling. And who makes him aware that some shit is going down on Twitter? And then what do? Just open up a bunch of laptops. He's got a girlfriend now, and she's pregnant with his baby or fiance. Is she? Oh, she had the baby. Is she helping? Is the baby helping? Is Whitney Cummings, who's his good friend, did she hop on her horse and ride over there? And she's pretty technically savvy, helping him, like, clean everything that he could have said. Is someone pulling down controversial lines from his podcast that he's had, where someone was showing a video of his podcast where he talked about jokingly, like, there's no 14-year-old girls anymore. They go to 13 to 30. Like, a 14-year-old girl doesn't exist. These 14-year-old girls look like 25-year-olds or whatever, which people have joked and said. And That is true that, you sometimes see girls and you're like, "Wow, they look older," but that's always been the case, and girls that, develop early or like to dress a little sexy can look a lot older than they are. That's not their fault. It's sort of sad that girls that, have their period when they're younger and get the great boobs when they're, like, in the 6th grade do get overly sexualized by guys like him. And, so, I mean, I think he'll be removing those jokes from his act. But as I was reading all this, I'm like, nothing's gonna happen to him. He comes from a pedigree, Hollywood privilege. Everyone talks about white privilege. There's Hollywood privilege, and meaning that you had a dad or a mom in the industry before you ever wanted to do it. And let me tell you, that's the biggest help of all. Being able to immediately be introduced to agents, and his dad is a big writer, director, producer, and which is not his fault. It's great. It's fine. But so he had all these advantages, and hence why I think he had a really good team right away to go put out a statement right now, nip it in the bud, hope that some awful thing happens in the world today that'll distract us from talking about this and move on. But continue doing your life. I don't know if they're going to show him slowly walking, getting something at a gas station. Maybe they're going to have some Twitter photos. Hey, don't show that you're afraid. Be out there, own it. I don't know if Lisa Rinna is his PR person. Own it. Own it, Crystalia. Freaking own it. You DM'd those girls when you were lonely in your Colorado hotel room after a show. And you know what? You're not that person anymore. I don't know. I don't know who's giving him advice. But all I know is when I had Ian here, Ian Edwards, who's a great comedian, he's a friend of mine. And I was like, it was before some holiday. And he's like, oh, Crystalia is having a party, like a barbecue or something. And I'm like, oh my God, can I please be your plus one? Can I please go? Because this is this group of comedians that I don't hang out with because I wasn't hanging out with them during the Chelsea lately days. I don't hang out with them now because I'm not at the Comedy Store every night, which is a solid 45 minutes from my house. And he's like, nah, that really wouldn't work. I don't think he really is cool with me just like bringing people that aren't his friends. And I still identify as a really hot 28-year-old. So I'm like, excuse me, why wouldn't you want this hot piece of ass at your barbecue party? But I think to other people, they don't see me as a 28-year-old. And if they're into girls that are young and hot, maybe I didn't qualify. Maybe I was a few decades a little too old to be the plus one. I don't know. Um, Oh, this one other girl said that she was 19. She started exchanging conversation with him. He invited her over. And again, she's 19. It's legal, okay? But I just also think it's weird when that's your type for so long. Like it's your type when you're 19 and it's your type when you're 39. Really? Okay. Kind of weird. But she came over and she said the first thing is he criticized the way I rang the doorbell. And I was just like, oh my God, I've also been that girl that's come over to the richer guy's house and they're like, can you use a coaster, please? You're like, all right, fucker. Like he just it sounded like, okay. So that part of the story disturbed me more than anything. And then I guess they had some conversation that led her to say, I'm a virgin. And then he was like, ooh, would it hurt if we had sex, then it would hurt you, right? And she said she got real creeped out and left it and talked to him. There was another girl who was 21 who was an aspiring stand-up comedian and was so excited to be DMing and having a conversation with him while he was doing shows in Toronto. And she's like, can we hook up and talk about comedy? And he's like, sure, let's meet at this restaurant after the show or something. Then he was like, no, I don't want to meet you after the show. I'm tired. Meet me at the hotel bar where I'm staying. Then she gets to the hotel bar and she's like, I'm here. And he's like, I was tired. I'm in my room. Come up to my room. And so then she didn't want to do that. But then she wrote him maybe a little bit time later. And she said, actually, what is your room number? And he told her. And then she charged all the drinks to his room, which is a pretty great story. So also Dane Cook. Dane Cook is a guy whose stand-up really appealed to young girls and young guys. And I think, is engaged to a 19-year-old and he's like 48 years old. That's always who he dated, young girls. And now he's actually going to marry one that age. Jerry Seinfeld, when he had the Seinfeld series, was 38 years old and was absolutely dating out in the open an 18-year-old girl, named Shoshana Lowenstein that he met while she was in high school. She was sitting on a park bench, like doing her homework or something in Central Park, and they were a solid couple for like 3 to 4 years, and then they broke up. And it was weird, and people would bring it up in People and stuff, but hey, she was over 18, so it's okay. Oh, Scott Disick and Sophia. Again, he's like about 38, 37 now. She just turned 21. It's and they were together for 3 years. It's weird. I don't care how mature you think you are at 18. It's weird. Oh, speaking of the Stoughton girl, what's that girl's name? Courtney Stodden, who looks like she's 50, whose mother signed her papers to get married to that weird, like, D-list actor that was like 53 at the time. They got divorced. Now she's got paparazzi taking photos of her and Brian Austin Green all over the city on a date, what appears to be a date. I don't know why he's out with her. I mean, weird. Megan, and then his ex-wife to be, Megyn Kelly, she's got a bunch of fun, photos out wearing a mask with Machine Gun Kelly. I had a really traumatic thing happen yesterday. I was out just minding my own business, wearing my Juicy Scoop mask that Betsy made for me. And I was just doing some light reading. I just was reading some of my old books, and paparazzi got photos of me. And then I was just carrying a poster around that's my logo for the Juicy Scoop podcast. They got photos of that too. And Daily Mail was going to run a story on it. Someone at Daily Mail let me know before. I have like a connection with them, like Meghan Markle, and we shut it down. Thank God. But it's on my Instagram. So you go to Heather McDonald, and you can see those paparazzi photos. Just really, I'm just a mom just trying not to be seen. It's just so disturbing. But obviously, I'm joking. And obviously, a lot of these pap photos that are happening are being set up. You guys know Stassi has announced she is in fact pregnant, Stassi from Vanderpump Rules, with Beau. And that came out Saturday morning that we first saw a photo of them out for the first time, and she had the perfect outfit on after a tragedy. A little bit of style, not a lot of makeup, hair pulled back, exposed darker roots of a natural blonde. She had a kitten heel. It wasn't full flat, a kitten heel. A sweater. It was a cooler day that day, a sweater in which people were like, is she pregnant? And, to show like, hey, I'm strong. We're together. We're a couple. This isn't going to break me. And then the news came out. Sources very close to her have confirmed that she's pregnant. Well, those sources are the publicist, the fixer, PR person that she hired. Don't hate it. I don't blame it. Again, you guys, I am just talking about these topics, doing celebrity predictions. It does not mean that I endorse any of the celebrities' bad behavior. I'm talking about it. Okay. So don't come for me unless I come for you, as Kenya Moore would say. So I'm happy she's pregnant. It totally makes sense. They probably realized she had said before, we're going to just try to get pregnant. If it happens, it happens. She probably found out she was pregnant. She's like, this is great. The wedding in Italy in October is probably not going to happen anyway. They pushed the wedding off. The baby's due now in January. And I think my prediction that I said last week will come true, which is she will come back from this. She will continue to be a personality that people like. Some people may never forgive her. Maybe some people will never be into her. She'll gain new people. She'll use her sense of style to style her baby. If it's a boy, it'll have a bunch of bow ties because that's Beau's thing. There'll be a whole line of baby bow ties or whatever. Not like any baby boy wants to wear a bow tie, but whatever. It'll be something like that, and it'll be fine. So, so that's what's going on with them. So they're pregnant. That's good. And so then last night was the last day, the last of the 3-part reunion, Zoom reunion of Vanderpump, and that was pretty entertaining. Okay, because now this was taped maybe 5 weeks ago. And now we all know the shit's going down in Vanderpump Rules. A lot of people, so Stassi and Kristen were fired along with the 2 new guys, Max and Brett. And a lot of people were, doing tweets that Jack should be let go because he's really written some controversial tweets and mean tweets to people. And one of the people that he wrote they were like in a Twitter fight, were the couple from 90 Day Fiance, which was, and I can't remember their names, but she was Jay was the guy from Jamaica. And he was a 19-year-old Jamaican guy. And she was like a 33-year-old pretty blonde mom. And throughout their relationship, we saw that he had cheated. Um, but prior to her realizing he had cheated, they were planning their wedding. And they said, we're not going to have our wedding where we planned it because people have been leaving horrible racial remarks because they're an interracial couple on our website and on Instagram, and they're out to get us, and we're too afraid to do it. And this is just horrible. And everybody was horrified. What I recall, my memory, is that it was exposed, or there was some controversy or some pretty good evidence that did not happen. And in fact, Jay was behind it and had like created another Instagram to make it look like those claims. Like he was a little bit of like a Jussie Smollett kind of a situation where, he was claiming that he was being racially attacked when in fact there was no proof that it wasn't coming from them. In something around there, Jax got involved, or they started saying mean things to each other. And Jax wrote something to the effect of Jay's nose being larger than his head. And she then brought up and was doing interviews and articles saying that he should be fired. And, I don't know. I'm just giving you the facts. And then Lance Bass and Jax both are part of this company which calls Just Add X, which is like a pre-made mixed drink that's low calorie, and you just add whatever you want: vodka, gin, rum, tequila. And when Jax was on my show, he talked about it, and Brittany talked about it, that it was going to be, a big deal. And Lance Bass on his show just a couple days ago said, I'm ending my partnership with Jax. But Jax is saying it's not up to Lance to say to end the partnership because I'm just an investor. So who knows? But according to Lance, he felt that statement alone was just too ignorant of a statement to say, to have it be explained as anything other than being a racially motivated statement. So I don't know what's going on with the show or with them. No statements have been made. But on last night's episode, I mean, really, it did feel like everybody kind of was confronting Jack's behavior, and that, he got weird again this season, and why does he always need attention on him? And he's like, why don't you guys just continue to put up with it? I'm a work in progress. And then Andy was like, but we've seen this. And then they did a montage of all these different reunion clips of where he is saying, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not that same person. I've changed, I've grown. And then, you see season 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 doing the same thing. And he said, I told you, they said, but in the show, you said your brain is sprained and that you have a mental issue. And then Lala says, yeah, and, you're my people. You guys are really good friends to Randall and I, Jackson, Brittany. And Randall found a great therapist, was able to get a very coveted appointment, actually paid for the appointment ahead of time, and Jax failed to show up. And the word on the street is Randall has stopped following Jax as of recent. So poor Brittany's there, and she's like, why are you guys all being so mean? Oh my God, Ariana and Tom, you're like the worst, okay? Like, Jax is my husband, and I will always take my husband's side, and that is what I have to do. That is the burden of being a wife to Jax. And I think everyone just kind of fell for her, because she is that woman. She is that person that has made a commitment to this man, and I don't think that she'll ever waver from it. But then, and they're all like, we love you, Brittany, but like, it's so hard because we don't want you to be mad at us, and we don't want you to hurt you. We don't want to hurt you. But if we have something that we want to address with Jax because he's hurt us, we should be allowed to do that. But obviously it's going to affect their friendship with Jax's wife, Brittany. So Ariana and Tom versus Jax and Brittany was the bulk of last night, and they end it and they say, we want to get back, and can't we all get together soon when this quarantine ends, and hopefully the restaurants are open soon and we'll all be back together again. Well, who knows what's going to happen? I don't know when they're going to, if the show's going to come back, if they're going to start to film again. I think all of these things could happen. I think there could be a smaller cast with new people. I think there could be a whole nother show created using the people that are left standing. I think people could go their separate ways. I think it could be a little of all of that. But I mean, it's pretty crazy. Oh my God, I hope you're watching the Betty Broderick show on USA. It's really good. And I'm going to do a little more research on this because on yesterday's episode, or on episode 4, they finally get into the logistics, though it was still very hard for me to follow, of how Dan Broderick really fucked over Betty on the divorce. He basically tricked her into her thinking they were buying a new house together, but actually he was moving out for good and then going back to their old house while she was stuck with the new house, and then using that down payment as money that was owed back to him when the divorce was final. And that's the kind of stuff that was making her crazy, that is very hard for someone to understand. So in the Meredith Baxter Birney movie, it just showed her getting angry and going crazy. But in people that have studied it more, like I have, and podcasts and books, there was a lot more layers to him having this power in the legal field, that the laws were different in the 80s. And I'm going to look up some of those laws and explain it more. I'm going to talk more about it on Patreon on Friday as well. One last thing on 90 Day Fiance. We finished, okay? But David, who was with Lana, who is a Ukrainian girl that he talked to on the website, there was this amazing moment in the last episode where he was like, both Tom, who's Darcy's Tom, and Big Ed were like, David, we don't understand why you couldn't just get Lana's number. It's been 7 years. She wouldn't give you the number. He's like, she doesn't speak English. And they're like, yeah, but there's apps that like translate texting, or you could call her. Like, why did she never give you her number? And he goes, it's illegal. All right. It's illegal for an American to talk to a Ukrainian woman on the phone. And they're like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, he is so dumb, old. I don't know what it is, why he believed this, but he was adamant. He was so mad at everybody else on the Zoom reunion that they did not realize that there is an American law that says that you can't talk to a girl that you're dating in the Ukraine if you're American. Like Tom could in England, but he and Ed's like, no, that's not true. Also, when he asked Lana to marry him, he revealed that it was a cubic zirconian ring. And they're like, why? And he's like, oh, well, I just want her to pick out her ring, but I haven't talked to her in 6 days. And they said, have you ever been engaged before? And he said, yes, I've been engaged 3 different times. And one was with a real ring and 2 others were with fakes as well. None of them have worked out. I mean, my God. Rose still hates Ed. And now there's a new 90 Day Fiance show called Happily Ever After. And they brought back some of our favorites, which is Colty is back with his mother. He's working out in his garage, getting his body back with his mother in Las Vegas. And Larissa has had a lot of plastic surgery. She got the body, she got the bigger body, she got a better nosy, she got the more cheeky, she got the more lippy. And, but she does miss the Colty, because the Colty used to give her complimenties. And her new boyfriend, Eric, he never wants to make love to her or say that she's a pretty. So I don't know. So I don't know how fucking real this dumb show is, but they are entertaining to watch. And then he meets another Brazilian who's here on a nanny visa. She's a nanny. And she's in Chicago, and obviously she found him watching 90 Day Fiance, and she looks she's like the redhead version of Larissa, and it's going to be a nice, fun triangle or a foursome, because Debbie, his mother, is really the first love of his life. So it's all good. Housewives has taken a bit of a break for a couple weeks, but there's plenty of things to watch. And so go to heathermcdonald.net. My dates are there. Starting in August, I've got Dallas, Houston, San Francisco, Maryland. Not a lot of dates, but I do have some dates for 2020, and I'm excited to get back there. So go to heathermcdonald.net. And then, of course, you can join Patreon there and Follow me on your favorite social media. It's all right there with all the fun videos. And now I'm very excited for you guys to hear a fun interview that I did with Elise from Real Housewives of New York.